Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another great episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host. I'm so happy to have you join me today and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. And today we're not talking necessarily about a person in Foxborough, but we're talking about people who will directly affect the direction and successes, or maybe lack of success, of Foxborough and our Commonwealth, the great state of Massachusetts. I'm joined today by Angela Davis. Angela, thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning, Bob. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And I will give my prop right at the beginning. We have the Charlie Baker and Karen Polito for governor and lieutenant governor, respectively, for 2014. Our election is coming up. When is the election?
November 4th.
November 4th. And who should vote?
Who should vote? Any registered voter in Foxborough.
Well, there you go. Actually, any registered voter in the Commonwealth. But here in Foxborough, we have Charlie Baker, who is running for governor.
Correct.
And Angela here is the chair of the local Republican committee.
Right.
The official title is?
I'm actually the state committee woman, the Republican state committee woman for Norfolk Bristol County. So I have a bunch of towns, and Foxborough is one of them.
See, I was trying to make you be, I was trying to humble you out there, and I was wrong. So thank you very much for correcting me. So in your role, right now what we're doing is pushing the agenda of the ticket. And the ticket for the Republicans is
right. We've
Baker
got
Polito.
Yes, Charlie Baker and Karen Polito. Really strong, well-seasoned, qualified, tremendously talented ticket.
Okay, and then the selection will be the first in 8 years where there won't be an incumbent because Deval Patrick is not running for re-election, so it's a wide open race.
That's right, Bob. So we've had the Patrick administration in for 2 terms, and now we're looking to hopefully get Massachusetts back on track and make Massachusetts great again.
All right, well, as I roll to the polls on November 4th, as I'm sure everybody out there is going to do, why should I vote for Charlie Baker?
Right. Well, out of the gate, Charlie is someone who has worked out in the field. He's actually helped to have a positive impact upon the state. He's brought jobs to Massachusetts. He actually helped to save Harvard Pilgrim, a failing healthcare entity, and he brought them out of bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And he saved hundreds of jobs here in Massachusetts. He actually worked for Governor Weld in his administration. Charlie is someone who has actually been out there working on the issues that are relevant and matter in our state right now. Going forward, he sees that Massachusetts has tremendous resources. We have the best biotech, high tech in the nation. We've got the best higher education, the best resources really in the nation. And it's time to really harness the strength and energy of those assets and make Massachusetts great again. So that's really Charlie's strategy going forward.
Well, Massachusetts does have resources, as we know, and one of its greatest resources are the people and the overwhelming network of colleges, universities. You yourself work for.
Well, I work in the
education field.
Yes, correct.
And so you know that we have a talent pool in Massachusetts
right.
that should be able to propel us forward and sustain growth. Mm-hmm. Because in the Boston Globe recently, there was a very significant piece on the difficulty in finding qualified applicants to fill jobs. But I guess you have to have the industry and the growth in order to create the jobs.
That's that's a great point, Bob, because often what Charlie will speak about is, he has 3 kids. And when they graduate college, he wants them to stick around here and make Massachusetts their home so he can enjoy his grandkids. And right now, what we've got literally hundreds of thousands of kids that come here to get their education, particularly in Boston, okay, through all the consortium schools, MIT, Harvard, some of the best BU, BC, and they get their education, then they leave. And I think it's our job to present and make the case as to why they should stay here with the great talent that we've got. So that's one of his major issues, his platform issues, is education, a focus on K through 12, and then the higher ed system. How can we build those bridges to better supply the path to success for our college grads? Yeah.
So with that, there also becomes the issue of attractiveness of where we live. And I live here, you live here, and I love the area.
Yeah.
There's so much to do, both from a historical perspective as well as
Absolutely.
from an exciting life in Boston. We're here in Foxborough, which is
Right.
equidistant between Boston and Providence. So the whole region is just ripe with activity, and it's a great place to raise kids.
Right.
But how do we then communicate that to the students that are graduating and looking to settle down? How do we make them know that Boston is the place to be?
Right. I think the economic climate can be a great dictator of success. So as you're looking to, make roots in a community, get a job, hopefully buy your first house or whatever it may be, and start a family, you're looking at the economy. What does this place offer me? So it's affordability of housing, it's the job market, it's the ability to be able to keep more of your hard-earned dollars and not have the government pinching so much from your wallet. So it's really what I refer to, the whole package is the economic climate, Bob.
Well, and I'm glad you touched upon the housing, because
Right.
hand in hand with opportunity also is affordability. And Boston, and I think we all fall into this. Here locally, we talk about, well, do we want something, do we not something? But we also need to understand that we're also competing with, in Foxborough, surrounding communities, and Massachusetts as a whole is competing with other regions and other
Yes.
states.
Yes.
And what is maybe something that we traditionally think of as being ours, another state or another region would equally think of as an opportunity for their growth. And so there is competition, and I think all too often we forget about that. So when we're competing for these students who are graduating, there needs to be affordability and quality of life. So you touched on that. What is Charlie's position on affordability?
Right. Well, I think Charlie has also spoken frequently on the ability for our young adults to pay for a college education. And for me, that's particularly concerning working in education. I get concerned about the future of particularly public education. And Charlie, his thinking is aligned with that as well. He sees a lot of opportunity. It's about building those bridges between the colleges and universities and public education, Bob, and the private sector, corporate America, and education. I mean, have we really exhausted all the relationships that we can? What are the ways in which, Northeastern, for example, I go back to them, they have for many years had a great system of connecting students to on-the-job training. So you go in for a few semesters, and then you come out and you go work in the field and back and forth. And I think that what we're going to see going forward to better create those opportunities for college grads or even the tech schools, we have to not be ignoring those that want to go into some of the tech areas too. Providing opportunities to get out there and be putting what they're learning into practice.
Well, and that's a great point, because recently in the news we've read about a school in Boston. While it's not directly under the oversight of the state, at the same time it all falls into the whole education corporate business partnership puzzle. And there's a community college that has, in my opinion, failed a little bit to really take advantage of all that we have, because again, the education opportunities here. There's also business. There's such tech growth. There's such medical medical research growth in the Cambridge area in particular. So it's a great opportunity. But then, of course, there's so many other issues, a myriad of issues, transportation. Being key right now.
Yes, and another one that I think is really illuminated for all of us, there have been issues worldwide, and now we're seeing them locally, which is secure communities, the safety and well-being of Massachusetts. And I think that there are issues that Charlie is well experienced, having worked for the Weld administration, and been out there in terms of examining those issues a little bit closer. He understands that we're challenged right now in the Commonwealth. We've got some health challenges, and we also have a challenge on our own soil in protecting the well-being of our nation. And I think for anyone that thinks that that's not a real issue right now, the gauntlet went down over the summer, and we're at war again, back over in the Middle East. So, it's all related. Having an unsecure border, having so many folks coming and visiting in Massachusetts, that's one of the beauties, the exchange of education and the workforce and so forth. But we also need to be smart and secure. So that's a priority to this administration.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, I'm joined again by Angela Davis, who is with, I'll say, state and local Republican Party. And it's great to have you here talking about Charlie Baker and his running mate, Catherine Pleta. So let's, before we get into rapid fire, I'll give you a topic and you give me the blurb. Let's talk about the man, Charlie Baker. What is his social, personal, family? Why? Who is he?
Right. Charlie has lived for many years in Swampscott. He's married, and he has 3 children. One, I believe, is graduated college and trying to make it. One is in college, and one's finishing up high school.
Okay.
Charlie is a social moderate. He is a conservative, fiscally conservative Republican. He is truly in the mold of Bill Weld.
Okay.
If we remember that.
Many of us do.
Great time, yeah. So he's somebody who, I think what I've come to recognize about Charlie is that he likes to surround himself with people who have knowledge in areas that perhaps he may not. He is not afraid of a challenge. He surrounds himself with great talent and experience. He's got great talent and experience coming from having virtually saved Harvard Pilgrim in the healthcare industry and having worked in the administration for many years. He understands the challenges that are before our state. And this is critical mass right now. If we don't get this done and elect somebody who is going to focus on the issues that truly matter now in our Commonwealth, we've had it for another 4 years. And I think it's really important to also look at what we've had in control for the past 8 years, Bob. We have had what I refer to as the ABCs of corruption and ineptness. So we've had the EBT scandal, we've had the DCF, which I find is particularly egregious when you've got children, children's welfare at the end, and the Department of Corrections. So there's a lot to clean up. And in addition to that, when we've got speakers of the House being indicted and people stuffing their shirts with cash, something isn't right, Bob. And this isn't something that's unique. I mean, this is something that's played out in history. When you have one party rule, you have got a problem. And if you don't have a problem now, you're definitely going to have a problem down the road. And we've seen that play out in the past 8 years. So we've got to get away from one party rule. There is zero accountability up in Beacon Hill. So with the current administration and the moral majority that's up there right now, there's no system of checks and balances. And in order to restore Massachusetts to its greatness, revive our economy, and make Massachusetts great, we have tremendous resources. As you mentioned, the people, the institutions, we've got the very best. And that's why we live here, right?
Fantastic. And that, I couldn't have said it better with the desire that we should all have of open government and checks and balances. And Massachusetts is a fairly, we'll call it a liberal state, but it's not really a fair label because, as you mentioned, Charlie Baker, who is running for governor, is a fiscally conservative but socially moderate.
Yeah.
People come in all different shades, and it's impossible to label. But the label that is valid is Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green. And Massachusetts does have a significant imbalance, shall we say,
Yes.
to one party over the other. And
Yes.
the governor's office, and under past administrations with Bill Weld and Cellucci and Swift and many, the check and balance, at least nominally, was there as far as having a veto stamp to be able to curb some excesses.
Yes.
And I think we here in Foxborough are a little sensitive, or maybe more aware of it, because we do live in this swath of Republican majority voters, and at least in the general elections, that's the way we sway. And so we are used to having our candidates maybe not be as successful, but we do have our stronghold, if you will. And so it would be nice to see a check and balance. And I think, as you point out, Foxborough has a key role to play.
Yeah, I agree, Bob. And, it's become critical mass now. The timing of this has never been more important. It feels a little bit like we're under siege.
Well, under siege means there's got to be action. Who's better to take action but the governor? So
Right.
if Charlie Baker is elected governor and Karen Polito as his
Right.
running mate, what would be the top 3 agenda items, do you believe?
That's a great question, Bob. So once again, it would be most certainly the economy. And when I say the economy, that embraces jobs, lower taxes, creating more opportunities for college graduates, and also I think releasing, particularly for Charlie as a small business-minded, experienced leader, releasing that chokehold on small businesses, the inability for them to hire and to get out of the red and to thrive in Massachusetts, and the daunting tax codes and so forth. It's not a business-friendly environment. So the economy would be number one, because when the economy is doing well, middle-class America, the families, the average Foxborough family is going to be able to bring home more and have greater opportunity. Education is the second issue. As I said before, we're rich in resources and opportunities here. So Charlie has experience in building those bridges, from institutions in high tech to the higher ed institutions, to colleges and universities, creating those bridges, providing more opportunities for college graduates, and making our communities safe. That's a priority for Charlie. As I said, right now, if people are not engaged in what's happening, I would urge them to tune in a little bit more before November 4th, which is Election Day, because there's a lot happening in Massachusetts and there's a lot happening globally, and those tentacles are far-reaching globally. It does impact the United States and it impacts Massachusetts.
Well, Massachusetts is one of the 50, and so we play a role in all decisions. And the governor plays a key point position as far as representing us on the national level. So with
Correct.
that, and before we get to the topics I'm going to toss out, how do we get a hold of the local Republican committee to learn more about Charlie?
Thanks for asking, Bob. So we have a meeting this Thursday, October 16th, at the South Foxborough Community Center on South Street. We meet the third Thursday of every month, and I would welcome any registered Republican to come join us. This Thursday, we're going to be having a conversation about the ballot questions.
Okay.
Our own representative, Jay Barros, will be with us, and Bill Vernon, who's the executive director of the National Federation of Independent Businesses, and a former state rep himself. So we'll be having a conversation about the importance of the ballot questions. I would urge anyone, even if you can't make a meeting, to get in touch with me. I'm happy to have that conversation at any time, and I'm happy to welcome anyone to the meeting. Any registered Republican is welcome to come and break bread with us. We usually have some treats to eat, and it's a nice group. And it's important for us, I think, for everybody in Foxborough to be curious and to be engaged in the ballot questions, particularly who is going to be leading our state for the next 4 years, Bob. And I'm really grateful that you asked me on today.
Well, we and our
about it.
friends at Foxborough Central are always happy to talk a little politics and to learn a little bit and educate ourselves. So with that, is there a website that we can reach out to learn more about the Baker-Polito ticket?
Yes, if you go online, go to www.charliebaker2014.com. And
That's
also,
easy enough to remember.
Yes, and actually, if folks want to send an email to me, I would love that. And you can reach me at adavisff@gmail.com.
adavisff@gmail.com.
Correct.
Or www.charliebaker2014.com.
Right. And I'm in the little green phone book.
Well, everybody who is anybody is in the little green phone
Right?
book here in Foxborough.
The Foxborough Republican
That's
Town
right.
Committee. Yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. So quickly then, we're so running out of time, but I want to hit you. So Charlie Baker, position on security.
In terms of...
Well, borders and particularly with the current Ebola scare that is going on.
Right,
and, this recently there was in the news of thankfully it was not found to be valid, but Ebola scare at local Braintree Hospital. So how do we ensure the safety of Massachusetts residents? And we'll even go as far as for potential terrorist attacks on LPG gas deliveries. I mean, the things that have all been in the news for the last year.
Right. And as the governor, you are tasked, of course, with those issues, and he would make that a priority. One of his priorities, issues, is a secure Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So he would be taking all of that to task.
Let's talk about I'll use the term Obamacare, but the Massachusetts version of universal health coverage and the fiasco that was the website, and then the indecision as to join the federal website, create your own, and then the failure of both to actually be executed.
Right.
I know it's on the uptake now, but there's always going to be change. And what is his position on the Massachusetts implementation of Obamacare?
Right. Well, you know, Charlie, like many other of our reps, they all agree we should have had an opt-out option because we already had it in place.
And it was working well. And
It was working well. But one of his things, you know, Charlie resurrected Harvard Pilgrim from the red. It was in bankruptcy.
Yes.
This is his forte. And he believes that we've got to dig deeper and make health care more affordable for everyone.
All right. And then let's talk about openness of government and the scandals. And you had mentioned, and I agree, the housing with O'Brien, and also the fact that I think it's the last, I can't keep quite count, but I think it's the last 1,900 representatives who have been who have been indicted. I know that I'm being silly, but there just seems to be an awful lot of legal issues with openness and ethics.
It's corruption, Bob. It's corruption. And it's time to return the government. It needs to move away from being a majority and majority rule, and it needs to be restored with transparency to the people. And we deserve it. We're all paying taxes. We're getting up early in the morning. We're going to work. We're working hard for a better future, not just for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. We deserve it. We demand it. And I hope that everyone gets to the polls on November 4th. You can't sit home on the couch and think your neighbor's going to take care of business for you. That's how we lose. Please get out on November 4th.
And that is a responsibility I think we all as Americans share and should honor. The final question I have, and then I'll let you have last words, is, you know, in the term bringing home the bacon is absolutely incorrect, but we elect people locally, state, nationally, with the anticipation they're going to make our lives a little bit better, make our communities stronger.
Right.
So how does Foxborough benefit from having Charlie Baker as our governor?
Well, it's great because what we've got is somebody who wants to make the economy a focus, restoring economic health to Massachusetts, I think would be paramount, particularly for Foxborough. We've got great corporations that are invested here. We know what the resources are in terms of jobs and who's employing. So it's working cooperatively to help spur that. Also, we have a tremendously talented and richly diverse education system in place here in Foxborough. someone who's going to pay attention to the public education system and truly listen to the leaders like Deb Spinelli and people like that who are currently leading and saying, what is it you need from me? Because rather than the assumption that they know it all, to know who the best in the business are, like a Deb Spinelli, reach out to them and say, what is it from your area of expertise that you see that you need that I can be helpful with? So it's all about relationships, Bob. And right now, things are so corrupt and so bad, it's agitated, and we've got broken relationships.
So fixing relationships is a priority, which is,
Right.
I suppose, a way to start in any problem-solving
Absolutely.
situation.
Yeah.
If you can't talk to each other, then how do you know what the issues are?
That's right.
I'm here with Angela Davis, who is with the State and Local Republican Committee, here talking about Charlie Baker and the Karen Polito ticket. We haven't had much time to talk about Karen, unfortunately, but we are so running out of time.
It's okay.
I'm going to ask you to give us the final word, but in the meantime, for those of you who want to learn more, the Local Republican Committee is going to meet on October 16th at the South Foxborough Community Center, and that's at 7 o'clock?
Correct, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock p.m., and that's in beautiful South Foxborough, Massachusetts. And we have a couple ways, if you can't make that meeting, to learn more about the Baker campaign. You can either log on to www.charliebaker2014.com, that's charliebaker2014.com, or reach out to Angela, who apparently is willing to talk to all 10,072 registered voters in Foxborough individually and give you the reasons why her candidate is the one for leadership for the next 4 years. And you can reach out to her at davisff@gmail.com.
Great
right?
job, Bob.
Hey, every once in a while. Okay, then. So, Angela, last word.
Right, last word. So I hope that folks take time, if they don't already know about Charlie and Karen, that they go online to the website and do so. I feel very strongly about Charlie Baker's experience and abilities going forward. He is what I call a servant leader. He believes in doing this work and leading Massachusetts out of this economic tumble that we've been in, providing for our families and for our children. And truly, Charlie is the most qualified person on the ticket, a proven leader with proven experience to take the job of governor. His running mate, Karen Polito, running for lieutenant governor, is a phenomenal, energetic, bright, tremendously strong female who's running for lieutenant governor. I am proud to support Karen as well. She served on Beacon Hill for many years. She has small children. She has parents that are senior citizens. These are the people who comprise our great state. The senior citizens, the children, the working families of Massachusetts. And the Baker-Polito ticket is ultimately, at the end of the day, going to do tremendous things for the state of Massachusetts. So I'm proud to be supporting them, Bob. I'm really grateful that you asked me on. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and well said. And another thing that I'm going to well say is please exercise your constitutional rights and your American responsibilities and vote on November 4th at the polls at the Ahern Middle School. They'll be open all day waiting for you to come by and mark your ballot. So on behalf of Angela Davis and all the volunteers here at Foxborough Cable Access, I want to thank you for joining me on Foxborough Central. Until next time, folks, have a great day.